Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone, wherever you may be, anywhere across the world. Well, thanks again for joining us here live today for Serverless Office Hours, and not just any Serverless Office Hours, even though they all are awesome. But today's a special one because we're all talking about pre-invent. And yeah, if you're joining us via the AWS Twitch channel or YouTube on Serverless Land or via LinkedIn Live, well, thank you very much. We have a cast of the good and great who I'm adding as we speak. Yeah, let's crack on. Does anybody fancy going to Vegas this weekend and spending the next week? I know American colleagues, it's annoying. It's the end of your Thanksgiving, but got to do it for work. So is everybody's going to be there on the screen?
Yep.
Cool. Excellent. Well, just going to give a quick sort of overview of some of the things that are on at reInvent. I'll call in anyone who wants to talk about this because seriously, this doesn't have to be me just to talking about everything. But yeah, if you are joining us either in person at reInvent, and there are also a lot of things that are available online as well, but there are sort of different ways that you can consume content. Josh, can I just put you on the spot and you can sort of go through some of the different breakout content that we have?
Yeah, thanks, Julian. We have 4 different types of sessions, like we almost always do at reInvent, I guess, at this point. The first are kind of the big lectures, which we call breakout sessions. So those generally have between 100 and maybe 500 people. They last for about an hour, and it's generally an AWS expert, potentially a customer on stage, talking about some topic. We also have workshops. Workshops are 2-hour interactive sessions. Size varies a little bit, but it's an opportunity for you to get hands-on, work in a free AWS account, and work through a project. We also have builder sessions, which sound a little bit like workshops, but they have a little bit more one-on-one guidance. You'll be at a table with up to 10 people total and an AWS expert working through a little bit smaller project than you would typically do in a workshop, something that you can complete in an hour. And then my favorite kind of talk, although I'm not doing one myself this year, is a chalk talk. Chalk talks are also an hour. They're in a room with between 50 and 75 people typically, and they are meant to be more interactive. There's a whiteboard, there's discussion. They can be a lot of fun. All of those sessions have reserved seating. So if you came to already have your reInvent ticket, you've signed up, you probably reserved your seat already. But we do keep 20+% of the room available for walk-ups as well. So if there's a session that you're interested in joining, I would encourage you to get there early and hop in the walk-up line to join us. How's that?
Cool, that is awesome. No, thank you very much, George. And hello, Anton, and hello, Farah. Thanks for joining us. Need to clear up the screen. We've got way too much going on. Oh, there's more people. Yeah, got everybody on. So that's all sort of different breakout contents. But yeah, as you said, some of the big rooms are going to have 500 people in there, but that's 20% walk up. I think something like that. So if you haven't booked your seats, there are literally 100 places there. Now, I don't know if anybody's already queuing up in some of the sessions, especially some of the famous people like Dave and Ben. So there may be queues already forming in Vegas. That would be slightly scary. But yeah, so don't feel as though if you haven't booked your seat, you are missing out. So that's trick number 1. There could be up to 100 seats up for grabs. Also, there are some repeats. So you may have booked your session a while ago. Some more repeats have been added. And so you've got another chance to get on them. I actually haven't checked whether, some of them may have filled up already, but there still may be some available. So that's the second kind of thing. Yep.
A lot of the breakouts that have repeats, they were added kind of late in the game. So there is a lot of space in those available.
Awesome. Well, that is so. Yeah. So you've got more chances. So if you feel as though you're going to Vegas, you're slightly panicking because you haven't got a slot. That's your second option. The third one I thought of. I believe there are still some overflow rooms available. And so overflow rooms is this cool sort of silent disco thing where you go into a room and you put headphones on and then you can tune in, I think, to a number of different sessions that are going on. So you can listen to actually what's going without physically being in the room. And obviously there's intense competition within that room who's going to get the most people listening because people can switch very, very quickly between them. So yeah, of course, if it's my session or Ben or Dave's or Josh's or Higgy's or Rohan's or Adam's and Anton's, then obviously you're going to be watching ours, and the non-serverless things, well, you can just switch over. So I think, anybody got any other tips on sort of breakout sessions? Yes, Ben.
I do. Isn't it right that they often add new kind of sessions during the week as new features get announced?
Does AWS release new features at this time of year?
I believe so. Yeah.
Absolutely. So yeah. So what's the trick with that, Ben? Just keep refreshing the app.
I guess so. Yeah. I suppose they get announced sometime around Werner's keynote, right? Or maybe the day before. I don't remember.
Or all the keynotes.
Is it
Josh
all
looks as though he's got
okay.
some interesting smiles on his face. He looks as though he knows what's going on with what's coming up.
There could be a few announcements, Werner's in particular, but there could be some earlier in the week as well.
Cool. So if you are listening to keynotes, and in fact, I'm going to make you all rather quite small now, but we'll list the keynotes. So yeah, there are a whole bunch of keynotes that are during the week. Big Boss Adam Selipsky is on Tuesday morning. And then also, okay, there's the partner one and Swami Sivabramanian, which is ML, but the two other ones really you want to be seeing, and that can either be live or they are streamed, is first of all Monday Night Live with Peter DeSantis. If you don't know who Peter DeSantis is, he's sort of the big infrastructure boss at AWS, and so all of like networking and compute, which includes serverless and a whole bunch of stuff, rolls up to Peter, and he always does a keynote on sort of the global infrastructure. And a little birdie has told me there may be some cool stuff related to serverless, particularly within that, and maybe some cool technology that we'll be able to talk about. So that's Monday night, Peter DeSantis. And then, of course, we all know the famous Werner Vogels. That's going to be on Thursday. And another little bird told me that there's going to be, some good things to do with serverless and eventing kind of stuff over that. Has anybody else heard any rumors about what to expect in keynotes? Or we're not allowed to say?
I mean, I've heard rumors, but I'm not sure.
Oh,
you know the guy that plays Spider-Man, Tom. Is it Tom Holland? He's notorious for giving away like spoilers in movies that are coming up, and so he just like doesn't speak. I feel a bit like him, just like to say something that may or may not be coming out. So I'm just going to keep quiet for that question.
I was going to say, I'm sure the thing that we're all most excited about is Werner's announcement of who will be playing at Replay that night. What famous DJ he manages to get to join us.
Actually, funnily enough, I do have one of our other colleagues posted something on LinkedIn, and I'm putting that in the chat. And of course, we are on live serverless office hours. So if you do have questions and comments, please get them coming, and we'll try to answer kind of things. But this person did say the replay party's at 7:30 at the Las Vegas Fairground, and that's sort of. Oh, my geography is weirdly down the strip, but if you're near the sort of wind sign and you're heading down to downtown, it's sort of down there. And it's actually a walk. I don't even think it's worth taking a cab or something. And it's the big Las Vegas Fairground, and that's going to be there. But it says this year they will have two main stages with performances by Chromio and Thievery Corporation. The fairgrounds will also have entertainment by Riot Games, as well as a lounge and silent disco. So we've got Chromio and Thievery Corporation, but yeah, there could be more. And Werner's always famous for wearing the T-shirt and doing stuff on. So
that's pretty cool. I'm wondering the entertainment from Riot Games. What are they gonna have, like a League of Legends LAN party or something?
I know. That sounds entirely nerdy and exactly which would be appropriate. Well, actually, before we're going to go on to the leadership sessions, Farah, there's a whole bunch of community stuff that also goes on related with reInvent, other than all the sort of breakout sessions and workshops and that kind of thing. What other things are you aware of that people can get involved in?
Well, the first one is something that I've been working on is the Modern Applications and Open Source Zone, which is located in reInvent. I think you can find us in the session catalog if you look under Modern Applications. I think the session number is Act 083. But that will have a ton of experts. In fact, I think a lot of you will be spending time at the zone. We'll have demos from community members, but also some of the AWS service teams. Also, anything that's been announced or anything that might be announced in some of these keynotes. We'll have the product managers and engineers back at the zone to answer questions. We're celebrating Fargate's 5th birthday on Tuesday, so there'll be cupcakes. We have a claw machine with a ton of swag. We have a DDR machine, so If anybody wants to get their dancing shoes on and, challenge somebody to a dance, we'll have that. But also in the developer lounge, that's actually in the Expo, there's a lot of community focused talks. I think that's where you'll find serverless espresso. There's also the AWS Heroes Lounge that's located in the Expo, where a number of our AWS heroes will be hanging out and hoping to meet the attendees. So definitely a lot of fun things happening. There's also an AWS community track where a lot of our AWS heroes will be speaking. I know Jeremy Daly's doing a talk. I can't remember who else. There's a number of them, but definitely worth checking out for sure. It's going to be a lot of fun.
So the whole sort of hero aspect of it, obviously, I know there are often AWS heroes which you join us for serverless office hours. If any are here, say hi and see what you're doing at reInvent. We're also happy to hear what you're up to. So they're going to be doing talks as part of the community track, and then I know they're sort of hanging around the Expo area. I'm not quite sure where, but I know last time it was sort of as you entered in, and it was actually pretty cool because people were just sort of hanging around there, and some of these people are awesome gurus to do with serverless, and you can just sit next to people like Ben Kehoe, who maybe knows one or two things about security and a whole bunch of other things, but you can just literally see these people and ask you questions.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. They'll also be hanging out at the Modern Applications and Open Source Zone. I think they're there to come get the swag and to see if they can I don't know. I think some of them are also doing demos on some of the open source projects that they manage. So definitely they'll be around, the Venetian and other places, and, worth pinging to ask some questions.
Okay, cool. And we even have Vlad. I'm not coming to reInvent this year. Sorry, well, you'll just have to, we'll have to join you in spirit or maybe spirits or whatever you're going to have. But hopefully you can follow along as well. But thanks for joining us via Twitch. And Faris, sort of on the social aspect, what's sort of top of your list of, boogieing the night away or doing card games, or I know there's a whole bunch of stuff. Not that you necessarily know them all, but what's interesting on the social side that you know of?
Oh man, like reInvent parties like that tracking. Every time I look, there's something new added, and I'm so torn by all the different things. I'm trying to figure out how can I make 4 events at the same time in different locations. I actually haven't set mine quite yet because again, new things keep getting added, and there's so much to do. There's so many fun things, and some of our partner parties and some of like the crawl on Wednesday. Definitely, I think I'm probably gonna try to hit each one of them for a half hour or so I can make my way around. Speed buzzing around. That's what I do as well. reInvent parties. That's not via AWS, but somebody puts that together. I'm not quite sure offhand. But that's a cool, awesome resource because that just lists all the stuff that's going on, and you can be a bit strategic as well because there's some venues in Vegas that are really nice and sort of quite pricey, have either fancy cocktails or cool food, and so not saying that I would sort of pick my party based on the fancy cocktails or the food, but if that's useful to you, then why not? I mean, I do. No, I'm just kidding.
I definitely do. Okay, my head's going around because I'm sort of picking up things on other kind of screens to try and just get all the stuff that's going. Anybody else have anything to do with community lounge or parties or social things you want to bring up? No. Anybody want to buy anybody a beer or a meal? That's also welcome. Anyone on this call would be happy to receive anything. So,
I thought dinner was included in showing up today, Julian.
Oh well, okay, that's quite all right. Yeah, the In and Out, which is open late on the where's it, near the link. Sorted.
I admit I always hit In and Out. That's actually one of my favorite. I love the fries and the burgers, so I will definitely make my way to In and Out when I'm in Vegas.
It's weird because Vegas is the sort of 24-hour city, but it's actually, because it's so big, it's not always that convenient to just go and get stuff at weird times. So In and Out. Cool. So leadership sessions. I'll bring up another slide just because it's sometimes easier for people to read if I can find the right one. So basically, leadership sessions are, they're loads. This is all the leadership leadership sessions you can do, and these are spread around during reInvent. It was too much clutter to stick them on the slide. So if some of them are involved, you know, if you're a developer or IoT or hybrid cloud or public sector, they may be relevant to you. A lot of people find these super interesting. They're not as a sort of long and a sort of time commitment as the keynotes, and so this may be a little bit more interesting into your the kind of thing you work in. But to be honest, I mean, there's actually really only one leadership session that it needs to be top of your list, and that's not just because Holly's an awesome speaker and she's, you know, the literally the VP of all things to do with serverless compute. So this is on Tuesday afternoon, 3:30 to 4:30. Always going to be an engaging session. And yeah, if you want to sort of, I think, get up to date with a whole bunch of stuff that's on serverless, and, you know, also because it's a leadership thinking, this is Holly's sort of thinking of how to position serverless. And I haven't seen her talk, so I'm not sure, but I know in previous years, it's sort of an idea if you want to think about what the leadership of AWS thinks about serverless and how it fits into our sort of product portfolio and as a business. Yeah, this is certainly one to watch. Anybody else got anything interesting about leadership sessions you'd be happy to share? No, we're good. Okay, that's all good. So let's why don't we just have a look a bit at sort of some of the new stuff that's already come out. And yeah, what's new in serverless has been pretty busy over the past kind of week. Lambda Node.js 18. Anybody want to pick that up and tell us about Node.js 18? I'm putting anybody on the spot, and I know that's a bit random, but anybody would like to say anything? Here we go. You can see we live and no one wants to spill the beans.
Lambda now supports Node 18 as a managed runtime. Yeah, there's some new options that come along with it from a language perspective, but it's like any other Node runtime at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, that's cool. Yeah, two important things. One is it's actually come out quite quickly. I know some people and customers have been saying, yeah, it's been a bit long since the release of these things to come out. But Node.js is the first one that's on they've sort of hurried things up. And behind the scenes, there's a whole bunch of work that the Lambda team's doing is to improve this as well. So yeah, that'll be cool. Other runtimes hopefully we're working on soon. But also the other one is if you're using the JavaScript SDK for Node 18, that's now version 3 rather than version 2. Big benefit of that, it's modular, so it's a lot smaller, it's a bit more efficient. So that's a good news. The sort of thing you need to do is you can't probably just drop your function into a Node 18 runtime. You probably need to do a bit of testing and tweaking to make sure that the
Julian,
SDK...
the SDK's included already, isn't it? You don't need to have that line at the
so
top of your function anymore.
So the version 3 SDK is included. If you want to sort of go backwards and use the SDK version 2, you'll have to bundle
those modular packages are much smaller, right? So the idea is that it'd be faster to include just the modules that you need.
Yeah. And less package size as well. So if you are bumping up against that and you don't want to sort of jump to container images, got you.
Yeah. Nice.
Cool. Next one on Lambda, I'll just go on the list, like the telemetry API. This is just more observability. So we had the logs API. You can send your logs to custom destinations. Now you can send traces and metrics to custom destinations. So often this doesn't really matter to you, but if you're using observability providers like Datadog or Splunk or Logs.io or Sumo Logic, I'm not going to mention more because I won't remember. But yeah, this just makes it easier for them. And you literally add a Lambda layer to your function, and that's awesome. You don't have to do anything else, and they can grab stuff out of Lambda and send it onto an additional observability provider. So that's an easy kind of one. And if you are wondering, the Logs API, that's not. This is just an evolution of that. Logs API is going to stick around. But yeah, telemetry API just gives it more functionality, and you can use the telemetry API for logs as well. Anyone got any cool use cases for this in addition to what I've said? No, silence from the peanut gallery. That's all.
So, a few interesting use
Anton.
cases. Hey, how you doing, Julian? Yeah, we've actually documented a few interesting patterns. So for anyone interested in telemetry API, we got that. Obviously, we've updated the Lambda documentation, so you can look through the documentation to understand various use cases that you can deal with using the telemetry API. But we've also created a few sample applications that you can use, right? And it's all published on GitHub. So if you go to GitHub, AWS samples, Lambda extension samples, you will see 3 new samples there. Telemetry API implemented in Node, Golang, and Python. And they implement the use case of gathering telemetry from Lambda runtime, things that were not available before. So per invocation telemetry, and dispatching that to an external destination. So it can be, if you're using some one of our partners like New Relic, Datadog, like Julian mentioned, right? They joined us for the announcement, so you will see them adopting this functionality soon. But you can also, egress that telemetry into your destinations, right? If you want to build your own extension that grabs that telemetry and exports it, now you can do that easily.
Cool, excellent, Anton. Yeah, and Anton wrote those those examples, which are brilliant. And yeah, there are a whole bunch more in there as well. So this is also, if you're building an extension, yeah, all the code's open source. It's really, really useful.
I forgot the most exciting thing, right? So the telemetry that you're getting from Lambda, telemetry API, it's semantically compatible with OTel, with Open Telemetry, right? So we've actually documented how you can grab the telemetry that you're getting from Lambda API and easily convert it to Open Telemetry. So if you're using something like Zipkin or Jaeger, any of the tools that are accepting Open Telemetry, you can easily convert the schema we have in Telemetry API into OTel, and this is documented, available in Lambda docs.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, Anton, thanks for reminding me. Yeah, I'd also forgotten about that. And the cool thing about that is the OTel collector can be a bit sort of, heavy and beefy when you're running it in a Lambda function. That's just because the way it works. So this is a sort of awesome way that you can get OTel semantic schema without having to run the whole sort of OTel collector within Lambda, which I think is pretty cool. Awesome, Anton. Thank you very much. One other thing is .NET tooling. .NET 7 has come out from Microsoft, and so, but .NET 7 is not a long-term release from Microsoft. .NET 8 is. So Lambda isn't going to support .NET 7 as an entirely managed runtime because we'll wait for the long-term support. But there's a whole bunch of tooling which has been updated to make .NET 7 really simple to use for Lambda. And the cool thing is it's got faster cold starts, just-in-time compilation, all that kind of cool stuff that .NET 7 does. And literally that tooling was, I think, within a week or two of .NET 7 coming out, and it's already all there for Lambda. So winner on the .NET team. So EventBridge, I know somebody in this panel of experts knows one or two things about events. So Dave, I'm going to completely put you on the spot. Tell us about EventBridge Scheduler.
Where do you start, right? So just scale thousands, millions of events in your AWS account. So how would you do that? I guess how would you do that before? You set up an EventBridge rule to do a schedule, but that kind of eats into your default EventBridge rule quota, and also you can't do things like one-time schedules. But scheduler, yeah, I was actually literally playing with it today. Created a schedule to raise future EventBridge events based on other events or event-driven schedules, if you want to call it that. But yeah, you can use scheduler to just literally scale thousands and thousands of events. I guess why would you do this? A typical use case, which is in the docs actually, in introducing blog post, is if you had a customer that cancels a subscription, but the subscription runs to a particular date this month, then you can create a schedule to run at that time and then cancel the user. So you create your schedule to trigger a Lambda function, as an example, to delete something from a DynamoDB table, and then that's it. So then when this time happens in the future, that's kind of all handled and managed for you, which is great. Another cool thing about schedulers is like grouping schedules. So you can have like 500 per account. So if you're talking about thousands and thousands of schedules here and users and all sorts of things, you probably want to consider how you kind of group your schedules and manage your schedules across this stuff. But it's over 200 targets, which is great. Compared to the 20 targets in the past, and then 6,000 API calls. So again, to think about your serverless patterns, think about the integrations that you can do. It's just literally scheduler on steroids. So yeah, it's early days for it, but I'm sure we're going to see some interesting patterns emerge from this.
And Dave, even though it's EventBridge scheduler, how does it relate to EventBridge? Because it's not the same. It's not using an event bus. How should people think about it being a separate thing, but still part of EventBridge family?
Well, yeah, I think that's the nail on the head. Really, it's part of the EventBridge family. Previously, when you set up the rule, you had to have an event bus and you had to have a rule. That's now decoupled from the whole thing. So how I would think about it is just part of the family, part of the event-driven family. If you want to do schedules at scale, then use the scheduler. Check it out for sure. If you want to use serverless event bus, check out EventBridge. I know, it's probably more and more things to come, but we'll see.
Is an event bus one of the 20 targets? Just out of interest.
Yeah. So out of the 200 targets,
200,
right?
sorry, yeah.
So you can actually create targets directly into these services without needing any kind of in quotes glue code. So what you can do is actually set up a schedule to say, okay, I want you to raise an event, right? I want you to raise an event in the future. I don't know, 6 months from now. So we can set that up and raise an event directly into EventBridge or directly into step functions, directly into SQS without the need to provision like Lambda or anything to do that. You can just
so you could set up a kind of simulator on a schedule to raise events into your bus to simulate other services, for example.
Exactly, yeah. If you wanted to, yeah.
Nice.
At particular times, yeah.
It's giving me an idea. I gotta
go. You have 33 minutes to write this up and present it by the end of the stream, Ben. No pressure. Yeah, Dave, also new capabilities that make it simpler to build rules. This is to do with schema scheduler, I believe.
We build rules of EventBridge, right?
Yes.
This is another feature, yeah. So it's actually kind of released very recently. So I had a look the other day. But kind of going into the console, you can now actually create rules based on your schemas, which is a very interesting pattern. So an example would be you have schema discovery on, you have 100 different schemas, and you might want some help creating a rule for a particular payload or for a particular schema. So now you can go into the console and actually use the UI and the developer experience to say, okay, this field in particular on this schema, I want to kind of create a rule for it. I want to make sure this rule contains, I don't know, a Boolean flag. Maybe the value is true. I don't know. So you can start using the console to create rules. It's just another way to create rules for developers and engineers, really, without kind of trying to figure it out yourself. So that's all in the console. So if you literally just go to the console, click create rule, it will come up straight away. So it's worth looking at.
Cool. And just while I did spot and have Zach Jones-Noel, I believe you're now an AWS hero. I'm sure I haven't messed this up, but I think we have a new AWS hero. So if that is you on the right name, then awesome. Congratulations. Yeah, it'll be, super congrats. It's a super cool thing to have done. Anything else on EventBridge? Dave, have I missed anything? Ben, Josh, Higgy, Adam, Rowan, Anton?
I have something. So I think
yes, Rowan, cool.
What I see a lot from customers is they'll think, Dynamo TTL, I could use that to fire events off at precise times, given the timestamp for the TTL. But unfortunately, it's not exactly how they think it might work, where it'll fire off that TTL event, let's say, within 48 hours of the value. But with scheduler now, customers will be able to do like precise events based on given times. And so I think that'll open up a lot of possibilities for customers without having to do the heavy lifting of, creating those events or cron jobs by themselves.
Yeah, that's a cool one. And another one I thought of is you can set it up to 15 minutes, so it won't run within 15 minutes. So it will run within what's the word? There's a time limit, time vagueness, jeepers, I can't think of the word, but basically you could set it up to say that your event schedule will run within 15 minutes of a start time, and that is super useful because it means if you've got a back-end system, you won't kill it at the top of the hour. You know, everyone sets their scheduled events to run at midnight or 1 a.m. If you set that sort of extra up to 15 minutes, that can spread out the load and that can help your back-end system. So and that's just literally turn that on, and I think it's up to 15 minutes.
Is it the flexible window?
That sounds much better than whatever I was trying to blather on about.
Yeah.
So yeah, and yes, Zach Jones Dewell, yeah, it was used. Sorry, my brain was a bit foggy. Yeah, congratulations on being a new AWS serverless hero. That is super cool. So hopefully you'll be able to connect some time and have you on serverless office hours. And yeah, we've got more congratulations coming in. Robert Tables, congratulating you as well. And then Grant Lammy really pulling us up on the AWS leadership principles. If you really are customer obsessed, you would let slip some of the new releases to us customers. Really interesting comment and thought. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, that would make it interesting when we had to speak to a vice president about why their service was released early, saying no, we were being customers obsessed. I wonder how that would go down. EventBridge, so step functions. I know we have someone else on this call who's our step functions absolute guru. Ben, I know we were talking about pre-invent intrinsic functions. That counts as pre-invent, doesn't it?
Sure. Yeah, I think just about. So that was launched in maybe September. So intrinsic functions are functions that are native to the step function service for simple data transformations, right? Like, I don't know, creating an array or manipulating a JSON object or concatenating some strings together. Anything where you need to do some kind of fairly simple operation where you don't need or you don't want to have to invoke a Lambda function to do one line of code, right? So I think it was in September we announced 14 new intrinsic functions, like the most requested functions that people were asking for. Things like generating a unique ID, finding if something exists within an array, hashing and unhashing strings. So just things that make it easier to kind of manipulate the data, simple transformations so you can reduce the payload as it moves through your workflow, reduce the number of services also, and the number of states in your workflow, right, which has a direct impact on the cost of running your step functions workflows. So, along with the same lines of some of the stuff Dave was talking about of being able to have less compute and do more natively with each service.
Yeah, no, I love it. Yeah, any time to reduce a bit of code is something you don't have to look after. Yeah, winner in my book.
Ben, question for you as a step functions guru. If you could have 2-3 new intrinsic functions that, anything, what would you want on your wish list?
I would want something for marshalling and unmarshalling DynamoDB data, because I think that's the most annoying thing to have to keep going through. Still have to use a Lambda function for a lot of that stuff. I know it's a pretty highly requested one as well, so hopefully we'll see that coming in the next round. They're going to be adding new intrinsic functions all the time, so
right.
That'd be a good one.
Let us know. Oh, awesome. Ben, on the spot. That was brilliant. That was just like straight in there as if this was organized. I saw Adam nodding his head. Adam, do you have any other ones you want to add on your request list? Or
no, that Dynamo one is the one that I was thinking of as well.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Yeah, Ben, cross-account access capabilities. That was also last week, I think.
Yeah, so that allows you to have a workflow that reaches into another account to orchestrate services in a different account using resource policies, I think, right? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so just a different way of granting access to the services in another account. So it just creates a whole new kind of scope of power for your workflows reaching into other accounts. Interesting patterns, I think we'll see coming out of that, right?
Yeah, someone I saw was saying, "Oh, is this a step functions? It's the step function state machine itself spanning accounts." And I wouldn't think that that's the way you could see it. I liked your way of saying it, Ben. The step functions can reach out into another account, but the step function state machine itself isn't multi-account. If that
Actually,
makes
it's
sense.
using identity policies, isn't it? Not resource policies. Yeah, that's why that's how it's able to do it, using identity policies.
Cool. What else do we have on step functions? Well, the new execution experience for Express workflows. I know, Ben, you're a big fan of Express workflows for reducing costs, and there were some gotchas beforehand, and now they better.
Yeah, so this is a big part of my breakout, actually, is talking about like the cost model between standard and Express workflows, and why you might choose one over the other, why you might default to one over the other. And one of the reasons why people were continuing to choose standard for everything was that you had this really great executions page where you could check out each workflow, drill into the execution of each individual workflow run, and step through the different states, see how the data transition throughout, have easy way to check the errors. Whereas previously with Express workflow, all of that information was being saved to CloudWatch logs, and it was a lot more kind of difficult to step around and investigate each execution, right? So they kind of matched them up more or less now. They redid standard workflows earlier in the year, the execution page, and now Express workflows is still gathering that data from CloudWatch logs, but it's kind of rendering it on the same execution page. You're able to drill down in the same way. But I don't think it holds the execution history for the same amount of time. Maybe someone here can remember how long. And I think if you change the definition of your Express workflow, then you lose the execution history previous to that definition. So there's still some little differences, subtle differences, but I think it comes a long way to helping you sort of investigate and debug with Express workflows now.
Don't you need to turn on the logging, and then basically it's grabbing it from the logs? So you used to be able to do it manually, sort of parse the logs yourself, but now it just does it automatically, but you need to turn the logs on. I think that was...
Yeah, I think there's one or
something
two
like that.
switches you need to turn on to be able to do it. Once you've done that once, then you won't need to do it again. That's why I can't remember where they are. But yeah, you need to enable it. Yeah.
Cool. It'll be in the blog post. Yeah. Anything else from step functions? Anybody hearing some cool use cases for step functions, or customers, winning and loving step functions, or not maybe?
I mean, I'll say that cross account, I think, is going to be a game changer and really simplify things. I know I have a lot of customers that today have like a Lambda function that is doing some sort of cross account call, right? And that's kind of like how people worked around this in the past. And so it's just another one of those things where it's like, if that Lambda function was doing some simple AWS API call, now you can simplify your workflow, pull out that Lambda function and have it make that call directly across accounts. So all my enterprise customers with their big multi-account environments, it's just going to simplify things for them in a really nice way. So yeah, excited to see how people use that. It's going to be good.
Yeah, and I like this comment from Robert. Thanks for joining us via AWS Twitch. Yeah, the cross-account access make blast radius isolation much easier to actually do. Yeah, it's a lot of these sort of secondary effect things of being able to do multi-account, and yeah, blast radius is a big part of that. Thanks for the comment. On to, well, I didn't have one on my list, but one I just thought of that came out, I think yesterday, was the AppSync. So AppSync resolvers used to be only VTL, well, Lambda plus VTL, and now it's using JSON directly. So I think, I haven't got anything on that directly, but I think that's a super useful one. The AppSync people, GraphQL people seem super excited. So yeah, if you're an AppSync web developer, I think anything getting rid of VTL is a winner in everyone's books. And yeah, by the grinning and the smiling, I think everyone agrees.
People have an unnatural dislike for VTL that I've never quite understood. But yeah, I've actually seen some people with AppSync already trying to build some of their own JavaScript libraries. You can't run like any old JavaScript library in the resolver, but you can do some limited things, which is pretty cool.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. Yeah, AWS SAM, Serverless Application Model. One thing did come out was SAM connectors. Anyone want to chat about SAM connectors? Throwing you on the spot again.
I could chime in on
Oh, go ahead, Iggy.
I was going to say, I think there's some really cool things about it and some things that I think that our customers are still working through. So I'll just be very candid about it. I think one of the cool things about it is we're attempting to simplify the experience for creating your IAM policies and your roles, right? So when you connect, let's say, a Lambda function to a DynamoDB table or an SQS queue to a Lambda function, right? So both ways, it helps simplify that experience. No, I do think one of the challenges that we have here is for some of our larger customers who segment some of the security policies or security aspects, it does require that it is within the same template. But again, for maybe development teams that are in their maybe early stage kind of dev environments and are starting to build out some of these stacks, this might be a really good way to prototype what a really good least privilege model may look like. And then maybe we could hand some of those templates over to the security teams or maybe the platform engineering teams to make sure as we deploy this to production, it can be done in a safe, kind of enterprise-ready way.
Yeah, I like the simplicity angle as well. I mean, SAM connectors, you've got resource A, resource B. How do you join them together? Well, it sounds sort of logically obvious, but things like SNS is going to be a push to something. Which side of the equation do you actually set the permission on? And some are identity IAM policies, some are resource policies, some are a sort of mix, and there's some kind of thing you're like, yeah, you got to figure that stuff out. So with Lambda, it's sort of simply you can work it out with the execution policy of a Lambda function and a trigger. But if you are connecting SNS and SQS, for example, or SNS to Event Bridge, or all these other things, partly other than Lambda, this is just I think it's a simple way to do it, and it's just CRUD, create rate or read. Sorry, not CRUD. It's just read or write access. That's all you've got, and then the SAM team under the hood just work that stuff out, which I think.
Yeah, the other thing I'll add is while, as serverless folks here on the call, we tend to think of connecting Lambda with all of these things, as Julian, you point out, kind of the vision and goal of the SAM connectors is to be able to have a diverse set of things that we're connecting. So maybe it's not always Lambda on one side of it. It could be other resources. And so it is going to be something that's extended over time. And I think we have there's documentation that kind of lists the supported resources on each side. And so that's going to continue to grow over time.
Yeah, and as Robert says, I tried to explain a set of IAM policies to a friend, and then we both didn't understand. IAM is complex, but it is unbelievably powerful, and so with that power, there's a lot you can do with it. But yeah, it does take some understanding you need to do. Yeah, and Zach Jones-Doyle says, make less worry about how you manage your IAM policies as a developer. Then just two other quick things. SAM CLI pipelines now supports OIC, OpenID Connect. I'm messing up the acronym. Dave, I know you've had a quick look at this on the spot again.
Yeah, quick look at it. So it means kind of it's for CI/CD, right? So we don't have to create like long-lived IAM credentials anymore, or access tokens and things like that. We can't use OpenID Connect to connect to things like GitLab or GitHub, as an example, into our AWS account. I believe the tokens that are generated are short-lived too. I'll have to double check that. But if you're using like CI/CD, I think it was Bitbucket. I'm looking now. Jenkins, GitLab, GitHub Actions. You probably want to lean into OpenID. I would recommend. So then you just don't have to manage these long-lived credentials and secrets all over the place, right? So you can just connect the two worlds together. I believe that's right. In the brief time I've looked at it.
That's definitely. You used to have to create an access secret access key and then hard code that within your GitHub Actions or that kind of thing. Now you can just set up your OIDC endpoint within your AWS account, and then you just connect say GitHub Actions to that as a URL, and the security works like magic, I think. Robert's asking, will the OICD method be added to the AWS plugin for Azure DevOps at some point? I don't know offhand. Does anybody have any? Nope. Sorry, Robert. We'll have to get back to you with that, or see what we can find out. The other last SAM one, and then we're going to cover onto what sessions we've got on SAM CLI Terraform support. Anybody want to handle that?
I can again.
There we go.
I'm no Terraform expert, but I know the SAM team are looking into kind of Terraform support. Terraform is a big kind of platform customers are using to obviously provision infrastructure. So Sam are kind of starting to look at Terraform support, initially with invoking functions and running functions locally with SAM and with Terraform. And this is in preview at the moment. So if you're using Terraform and you want to use SAM to kind of have this developer experience locally on your machine, it's worth checking out. And it's worth also kind of, if you can, getting that feedback cycle with the team through GitHub, and just, provide them with feedback or any ideas you have, what things they should look at next. Again, this is just in preview, so there's some docs online you can read to get access to it and play around with it. So that's, if that ticks your box, have a play.
Cool. Yeah, thank you very much. Just in addition to that, also on serverless patterns, which is serverlessland.com/patterns, Anton Babenko, who's one of the world's foremost gurus on all things Terraform, and he's done a lot of serverless, has done a whole bunch of pull requests of Terraform and Terraform modules. So if you are using Terraform to build serverless applications, serverlessland.com/patterns, a whole bunch of new Terraform stuff there, which will really help you get going, to have infrastructure as code that instead of grabbing off random sites of the internet, you can grab it off serverlessland.com, which would be better. Cool. Any other new announcements anyone can think of that I've completely forgotten? Nope. Few more coming up. The GitHub repos for SAM and Terraform. Serverlessland.com/patterns. That's your best way to go. We have James Besic joining us as well. Hello, everybody. Hello, James. Nice of you to join us. We'll get you answering some of the questions when they come in. Okay, let's switch it around now to sessions. We've all got a chance to sort of talk about our sessions that are going on. Pick a random, spin the wheel. Higgy, I know you need to leave a little soon. So yeah, what are you talking about at reInvent?
Cool. Yeah, I have 3 different sessions. SVS 311, I'll be actually co-presenting with a former AWS solutions architect, but he's now at Capital One, George Mao. We'll be talking a little bit about some of the practical experiences that Capital One has been working through in building and deploying serverless applications. I'm also doing 2 sessions. They're kind of serverless and storage combined sessions. So STG 303 and STG 311, just thinking about how do we use, for example, S3 and EFS in conjunction with Lambda, and thinking about some of the use case patterns that we can have from both a data persistence perspective, but also scaling out event-driven with Lambda. So love to have you. So
Higgy, the third one, I've got 303.
So it was SVS 311, and then the other 2 are stored. So STG 303 and STG 311.
Sorry, I got the SVS 303. I wasn't clever enough to have a list of all the sessions. I just had the serverless ones up. Yeah. Anyway, we tried.
Yeah, this is where Josh put together the kind of the pre-invent compute blog article, and he kind of lists them all out. So I think that's a great resource.
I will link that as well, and that's actually all I'm literally copying and pasting the titles and session numbers from. So thank you, Josh, for putting that together. Higgy, anything else you're involved with at reInvent that we should know about, or you think that's cool?
So I'll be doing a bunch of EBCs, so I don't know if any of the folks here will be there, but in those are really fun because we get to talk about how do we solve some of the biggest challenges that our customers are facing and think about kind of high-level strategy. And we also get a lot of feedback from our customers, so I love hearing about, hey, we love this about AWS, but here's also the things that we're challenged with, the things that we can really use a lot of help with. That helps drive a lot of feedback back to our service team, so I really enjoy a lot of these conversations too.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you very much. Spin the wheel of fortune. Next up, should we say, Adam, what are you talking about at reInvent?
Hey, I also have a few different sessions. So the first one is SVS 402, serverless stream processing, Lambda, Kinesis, and Kafka. So it's a Chalk Talk, 400 level Chalk Talk. So we'll go real deep, real quick, and hopefully people bring some interesting questions, interesting things to talk about. I'm co-presenting with Veda Raman, so I'll focus mostly on the Kinesis with Lambda. She's going to focus mostly on the Kafka with Lambda. We have some cool, I think, pretty practical, like real-world example use cases that we can really dive into in terms of what it looks like to performance tune those, handle errors, all sorts of some fun stuff there. So that should be should be a great talk. They added a repeat of that one. So the original one was on Wednesday, and they added a repeat, which is on Monday. It's funny to talk about a repeat that happens before the original one, but time travel apparently is a thing. It's cool. So if you went to sign up for it and it was full, take a look at that that repeat they added. So that's there. Then I'm also doing another session, PRT 307, which is a partner talk with a colleague at Confluent. So something that a lot of folks don't realize about Lambda is a lot of people connect Lambda to MSK, Managed Streaming for Kafka, our managed Kafka service. But you can also connect Lambda to self-managed Kafka. I know there's a question in there. So there is a managed service for Kafka today. It's called, it gets abbreviated to MSK. It's Managed Streaming for Kafka. It is, plain vanilla open source Kafka. We're just managing it for you. So really nice service, helps get you out of the business of doing things like managing Zookeeper clusters and other things that are just undifferentiated heavy lifting that you can leave to us. But yeah, if you're using Confluent's an AWS partner that also provides a managed Kafka solution. You can connect Lambda to that as well. And so gonna chat a bit with them about how to do that.
Cool. And I have to say, Adam and Veda are literally the absolute go-to experts on Lambda with all the event source mappings. Questions I get internally literally get swiped straight back to Adam and Veda. So they're absolute experts. And I love the way Lambda pulls things from other services is just such an incredible, useful functionality. So yeah, you want to head that Chalk Talk to get the deep and dirty on that. And also remember, Chalk Talks are not recorded. Breakout sessions are. So, if you're going to miss Adam and you're going to miss Vida, that's really the place to be if you are thinking of some priorities. We do have some more people joining on us. Brian and Dheeraj, welcome to Serverless Office Hours again. Nice to have you. We're just spinning the Wheel of Fortune. Adam, did you have another session? Did I miss, or you're good?
No, that's it so far. I'll be around at the Serverless Espresso booth and other various places. Talking to customers. Happy to chat with folks, especially on kind of Lambda and streaming. Cool. All sorts of good stuff there.
Awesome. Wheel of Fortune. Josh, tell us about what you're talking about at reInvent.
I'm doing one breakout session that has a repeat. So I'm the guy that fell on his sword to talk about serverless security. Security is always a fun topic. So I'm doing that breakout Monday and Wednesday late in the afternoon.
Do you remember the session number offhand? And I can just post
SBS 302. Architecting secure serverless applications.
There we go.
And
cool.
Beyond that, just hoping that all of our speakers show up and that we're not juggling in the moment.
Yeah, I have to say, Josh has been the cat herder of note of on our side. He's been coordinating all of the sessions and doing a lot of the selection and a lot of the cat herding. So yeah, kudos to Josh. It's quite a job, I can tell you. You can imagine, as big an organization as AWS, you've got to deal with a lot of stuff internally and externally. So yeah, a lot of the success of the serverless track at reInvent is due to Josh, 100%.
Okay, so good CSAT scores only, please.
Yes. If you like serverless content at reInvent, the tip is to give it a 5, and then we know to double down on that. That's just a hint if you want to indicate you want more serverless content. Cool. Wheel of Fortune spin. Rohan, tell us about what's your session number at reInvent?
Sure. So I have 3 different sessions. The first one I'll talk about, personal favorite, let's say, is the API 201, the step functions workshops. So I've been maintaining that the last few months, and definitely, we've added a lot of great new modules to it over the past year. I'm really excited to see people build out their state machines in person. So that got a repeat as well. So feel free to sign up for that if you were on the wait list before. The next one is API 306, building serverless applications CDK. We're actually going to walk our participants through building the backend for a voting application, which they can vote for their favorite pet. or animal. So that'll be pretty cool, pretty interactive session. That's a builder session. And then I have SVS 207, building event-driven architectures. And what I really like about that one, it's very comprehensive about how to use EventBridge and making sure you're using all the best practices, things like archive and replay. So that gets into some great material. And I also have a session at Serverless. So I'm really excited about that as well. And that's a popular destination for people to check out during these AWS conferences. So I'm excited.
Cool. Awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, we haven't mentioned serverless. It's all come and get a free coffee, learn about different architectures. Yeah, awesome. Time's marching on. Ben, what are you doing at reInvent?
So I have API 309, which is advanced serverless workflow patterns and best practices, step functions. I have SVS 306, which is the Serverless Espresso workshop. So there's a repeat of that as well. And I have API 001, which is a dev lounge talk next to Serverless Espresso in the Expo hall about I didn't know step functions did that. And then for the rest of the time, I'll probably be somewhere around the Serverless Espresso booth as well, just chatting to people.
Cool. Awesome. Dave.
Cool. Yeah, I've got API 313, which is understanding design in event architectures. So actually we step into schemas and design and why it's important and why no one talks about it, but it bites everyone in the bum later on. And then so that's a chalk talk. And then I'm also doing a dev lounge session, API 002, which is advanced event bridge patterns. So covering a couple of things there and some demos there around what you can do with EventBridge that you probably didn't know. And then finally, I'm doing SVS 204, which is what is new in serverless, which covers the last year with a handful of services and talking about all the juicy features that has come out and and some juicy features that might come out. So I will stop talking there because I might say something.
Cool. Well, I can see you're already in Vegas queuing up for your own session, so you must be keen. Brian, welcome. Brian, what's your talk at reInvent?
Yeah, thank you. SVS 305. So this is understanding concurrency with AWS Lambda. Ooh. So one of people's favorite topics, right? Concurrency. So I'm speaking with Justin Pirtle, who many people may have seen him before from other reInvents. He's always done some really great sessions. I've been a huge fan of listening to him, and so it's really awesome and an honor to be able to present with him. So yeah, we're going to deep dive into concurrency, understanding what it is, and then go into a little bit about how to control concurrency for your workload. So it's going to be a chalk talk. So we're going to have a lot of fun, very interactive.
Awesome. Dheeraj, in your session.
Yeah, great. Thank you for having me. And I see a lot of step functions and EventBridge, so I'll add one or two more to it. I have a chalk talk API 314, which also has a repeat, so on 2 different days. The topic of discussion is what's possible with AWS step functions, what you can build with AWS step functions. I'll be co-presenting with Anton, who was in this session a few minutes ago. So if the original session, which is on Tuesday, is not available, try to go to the repeat session, which is on Wednesday, 7:45 p.m. Local time. And the other chalk talk I'll be presenting with Mark Sales is SVS 403, which is effectively using Java on serverless. That's a very near and dear topic to me because we talk about Java and how Gold Start affects Java, running Java on serverless. We have some options to work around that and see how we can effectively use Java with some best practices. What are the ways to use some new features that are available on packaging Java applications and running them on serverless. So if you're looking for Java specific discussions and keen to learn on how to run them on serverless, here is the chalk talk for you. And then I'll be attending EBCs.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
I'll be in different other sessions. Thank you.
Cool, awesome. Seconds to go. I may as well punt my own sessions because why not? When I'm running the stream, I can do exactly what I like. I've got 2 talks. Both of them are sort of deep dive nerdy ones. Called Lambda under the hood. I'm doing it with a principal engineer, Chris Greenwood. We're going to peel back the onion of Lambda, show you a whole bunch of Lambda that you do not need to know anything about because Lambda just does it for you. But heck, it's fun to know how Lambda works. So yeah, that's good. I'm super looking forward to doing that one, and then doing a repeat of what I did last year with more info, going broader but deeper as well. Best practices for advanced serverless developers. So yeah, super excited. Also going to be around, so please come and see any of us. It'll be super cool. Got to jump because there's another stream coming on. I was going to do a whole bunch of information on how to survive in Vegas. It's huge, it's big. You're going to walk forever, drink lots of water, take your lip balm, and don't land up in prison, and enjoy reInvent and come and say hi wherever you are. Thanks so much for joining us, and yeah, see you next week in Vegas or remotely.